Alright guys, today we have a fun and concise little review video. You already know what we're reviewing because you clicked on the thumbnail, so you already know the product. And that is the LANDEN AverVita Advanced CO2 Regulator. This is for high pressure CO2 systems or like liquid CO2 systems. You know, your traditional CO2, not the DIY stuff that you can get on Amazon. Though you can get this on Amazon. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know from seeing the videos and maybe being attentive in the background that I have 3 high-pressure CO2 systems running in my house. Well, LANDEN was also pretty attentive because they saw that too and said, hey, you want to check out our regulator and compare it to the ones you're running? I said, sure. So here we go. Let's unbox it real quick and take a look at what's inside. Okay, before opening the box, one thing I noticed is it says there's a CO2 indicator kit included in the package here. So let's take a look. Most of the time you expect to get just a regulator. It was not listed that it came with that on the Amazon listing, I don't think. So nice foam packaging, by the way, to keep it all protected. Little bonus. So there we go, little CO2 indicator kit. Oh, it comes with solution too. Well, that's about like a $9 or $10 bonus if you get this solution online. And I've seen this style before. I've not personally used it, but I have to figure out how that works there. Oh, I see. It looks like the 2 halves come apart and then you put it in one side. But anyway, these are supposed to be pretty easy to read, and you have a little green indicator at the top. Maybe you can see that better on a white background. You have like a little green indicator up top there, so you match the color of the liquid with the little indicator color up top there, I guess, and that makes sure you got your optimum CO2. So that's really cool for beginners if you're not versed in CO2. We'll review this little guy as well while we're setting this up and doing a review on the regulator. Some other things in the package here, a little pipette. I'm assuming for maybe your bubble counter, fill in your bubble counter. We have a packet of O-rings here and extra parts, always good to have when you get a regulator. A wrench. Something I've not gotten in any of the regulator kits that I have purchased is a wrench. That's cool, super handy. Doesn't have to be a super high quality wrench. I mean, they're trying to keep costs down for you, but something to tighten the dang thing up with. That's cool. Of course, our power adapter. This is the US style plug here. And finally, the regulator here itself. As we would expect it to be, pretty weighty. Gauges look fairly easy to read here. Just a standard white, so it should match any decor. We have a little clip here. I'm not sure what that's for. Oh, that clip's just to keep this from sliding back and forth in the package. Okay, so a little safety clip there. Immediately note, make sure you don't forget to put an O-ring in there when you mount this. This is a standard fitting, US fitting. So we're gonna have to put one of these O-rings in there. That's why there's 2. 1 spare and 1 has to be put in. But don't forget your O-ring. Regulator knob is very nice and smooth as far as the turning goes. I'll be mentioning that in this video here. That's nice and smooth. We'll see under pressure if it's still as smooth. Check the needle valve here. Needle valve is also very nice and smooth. There's a safety relief on the bottom here, so you can manually pull the relief valve if you have to. Can you see that opening there right on the right hand side? Focus camera, please. There we go. If you look in that hole there, there's your safety pressure relief valve. I like that you can manually pull it. I don't know why, but maybe you have an emergency and you need to relieve some pressure. You can do that, but this is going to be your emergency pressure relief valve in case the system gets overpressured. Your standard solenoid here. This one is made by Era Inc. It looks like they've contracted. And you can get additional blocks here, which I will show you in the comparison video here, or the comparison that I'm going to show you. And then we have our bubble counter here included. Just your standard bubble counter. CO2 line is going to go just in here. Kind of a standard setup. You guys have done CO2 before, you're familiar with this. And there's an Allen wrench in here. They've included the Allen wrench so that if you want to add additional bubble counters here, or blocks as they call this, you can add your additional blocks and split this off into 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. So good that they include the little wrench as well. Pretty thorough. Anything else in here? Let's take all the packaging out, make sure we didn't miss anything. instructions. So if you're new to CO2, you may want to use the instructions. Here's an example of adding the secondary bubble counters there. Again, you're going to see an example when I compare it to my current systems I have in use. All right, while we're here, we get the camera to focus. This rubber O-ring here that I found in the box is actually for the unit here. Normally there's an O-ring that sits down inside of that groove there, but this one is not for that, the black one here. So the clear one is the one that fits there. A little bit different style, but provides the same seal, I suppose. All right, so here is system number 1 that I have running. This is a 5-pound CO2 cylinder here, pressurized to about 850 PSI here. Camera's probably not going to focus on that. And as you can see on this particular unit, I'm running 3 distribution blocks. This is an FZONE regulator, and the control knob here is a little stiff. This is your regulator pressure. I mean, you can turn it just fine, but it's not super smooth. But it does the job, right? It's been holding regulator pressure, hasn't changed or altered. So unit is working properly. The needle valves are very sensitive though on this one, I will tell you that. So one of my kind of, I guess, gripes, if I had to come up with one, is the needle valves are a little stiff. The regulator, not so much an issue. Once you set it, you kind of forget it, right? You get your pressure. I like to run about 30 PSI regulated pressure. Once you get it set, you're kind of good to go there. Other than that, standard regulator, size comparison-wise, they're about the same size here. So you can see no real change in size. Let's go look at some other units I have. Over here on the twin 10-gallon curved aquariums here, little curved edge here, we have another CO2 system over here. Again, 5-pound cylinder. And here we're running a dual system. This is a company that replaced ZRDR, I think, because I ordered a second ZRDR regulator, and this one came in. The marking is, well, you can see the marking there. Unreadable for me. So I don't know what brand it is, but regulator-wise, everything else is standard. Again, I have this pressurized to about 850 PSI and regulated at about 30 PSI. The regulator knob on this, a little smoother than the FZONE here. It holds pressure just fine, holds this regulated pressure fine. But again, the needle valves, kind of hard to get them dialed in. They're very sensitive here. Now the systems are off because I have them timed, but we'll show you the needle valves here in a second. And over here on my 75-gallon aquarium is where we're going to be doing our main testing here. Because we have a single bubble counter on this aquarium, it's just for one aquarium here. And the current regulator that is on here is the ZRDR. This is one of my first ones. This regulator here is very stiff, kind of notchy. Does that make sense? Like when you turn it, it kind of like it's not real smooth, kind of notchy. But again, once you set your regulated pressure, you kind of set it and forget it. Basic system here, you know, you got your solenoid and your single bubble counter, and that's what we're going to be replacing. We're going to take this one off and put the LANDEN one on and check the differences. All right, step 1 is we're going to take the old regulator off. And step 1 to that is remove the CO2 line. There we go. CO2 line off. Put that bad boy back on there. Bottle is off. I'm going to use LANDEN's included wrench here to help take this one off. The old regulator. This is a CGA 320 standard US fitting, by the way, in case you were interested. Come on. There we go. And here's an example if you were interested in the kind of typical O-ring that gets used on these. It'll kind of sit in that groove, but the one LANDEN provided should work just fine. Again, it's like a silicone washer almost. All right, we'll unplug this unit from the timer. Plug the power supply in from the LANDEN. There we go. Now we have our power supply lead here. Let's find that O-ring. Do not forget to put your washer / O-ring inside here before you screw this on. You'll know if you forget because it'll just hiss all over the place. All right, we got that screwed on there. Let's use a handy dandy wrench here and tighten it down. You just want to tighten this snug. You don't need to kind of He-Man it on there. You want that O-ring to get some pressure on it but the unit itself will seal. There's a piston in there. When you open this, it should seal itself. Regulator is all the way off. Let's go ahead and open the bottle. I'll zoom you in so you can see the pressure gauge maybe. All right, open the bottle, see if we're leaking. Nope, no leak. Good to go. We're reading 850 PSI, that's what we should be reading. I really want to pull this safety relief valve down here just to test it, but I don't know if it'll get stuck open and hiss all over the place. So, well, let's try that. Let's close the bottle. How about that? We're here to review. Let's review. Let's see if this works. All right, it's not doing anything there. Maybe this is a regulator release. So let's add a little regulator pressure. There we go. There's regulator relief. So once the regulator is activated, then this part becomes activated. We've lowered the pressure that is inside the actual regulator, and we have lowered the pressure, regulated pressure. I know what this is really handy for, the sort of mechanical or manual relief. So when you take this off, you don't have the pressure holding this nut on. Aha! That's very handy. So I do like that feature. All right, let's turn the bottle back on here. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the regulated pressure knob here is much smoother than both of the other units, or all three of them actually. And I can see my needle moving here. See if we can zoom you in. I don't know if you'll be able to see here as I increase the needle moving up and down. Very smooth. All right, I like that. Let's get our regulator pressure set to 30. That's where I like it. All right, set to 30. Let's go ahead and plug in our solenoid. That's what that is. Plug in the solenoid. Open this up here. Slide this collar over your CO2 line. You can use airline. I have before. Kind of a side note, not really part of the review, but CO2 line is preferred. Push the CO2 line on there. It's clear, so you really can't see much, but you push it down on top of that nipple there, and then we go ahead and just screw the collar down. Again, finger tight. No need to get crazy with it. Alrighty. There we go. And that pinches the CO2 line in there. Okay. Alright, I tried to turn the ISO all the way up so you guys can see. Can you see the bubbles per second there? How slow I got that? Now maybe you'll be able to tell just by how my fingers move, right? Look at the delicate control I have over that bubbles per second. Man, that's nice. That's really, really nice. It's weird to get excited about this stuff. And man, I tell you, if you've ever adjusted a needle valve before, most of them are kind of sticky. And it's like you barely crack it open and it goes crazy like this. And you're like, no, that's not right. And then you turn it just a little bit and you're like, oh no, now it's off. And man, I'm telling you, best needle valve I've had on a regulator. No exaggeration. And I don't know how to tell you it's authentic, but it is. That thing's great. All right, regulated pressure again. Just nice control valves, man. These are nice. All right, nice and smooth, I mean. Okay, let's go to where I want to be at about 3 bubbles per second. All right, the way I count it is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Need to go up a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, that should be about 3 bubbles per second right there. Let me show you an example of a needle valve that is not as nice to adjust. We're going to use this one as an example because, well, it's the no-name brand one, and so I can't really offend anybody if I don't remember what the brand is. So let's go ahead and turn it on because, again, it was on a timer there off. And now let's adjust the needle valve here. So this is going to be, I think, for the upper tank. This is going to be for the lower tank here. This is for the upper tank. Wait till we get some pressure build up. Okay, so let's go ahead and increase this. I think you can see the bubbles going there because it's got a darker background. If I go to turn this, you see how I barely touched it. And now look at the bubbles per second. If I barely touch it again, see how they go crazy? It's very difficult to get this set where you want it. Let me see if I can zoom in here and really show you. Kind of look at the texture on this valve here and you'll be able to see how little I move it. You see? It's like just barely touch it and it goes nuts. So you've got to try and just, it's more using pressure than actually turning the valve to get this thing adjusted where you want it. So you probably can't even see it on camera, the texture moving at all. All right, what about this one here? We got to get this one set again. It's going too fast. See now it just took off. Look at this. All I'm doing is just, look, I'm not even turning it. I'm just wiggling the needle valve and I can get it to, well, it was like it's stuck in between, and just wiggling it side to side, it was changing the, see, look at this, changing the bubbles per second just by wiggling it side to side. That's what I mean about a nice needle valve. Again, if you have used one of these products and you've played with needle valves before, then you understand how ridiculous it can be to get these adjusted and get them set where you want them and have them stay where you want them as well. So, all right, there's an example. Hopefully that made sense and came through on camera. Now I got to try and get them back where I wanted them. All right, that should be good. Also, if there was any background noise, that's because I've got a little guinea pig behind me. Say hi, Giuseppe. Yeah, it's hard to film with you drinking water, buddy. That's our little guinea pig, Giuseppe. All right, time for a little review on the CO2 indicator or drop checker here. Let's see how this one does compared to the one I already have. All right, let's see. Instructions are on the back here. I cheated and already read it because I've never used one of this style before. There's a little like O-ring in there, so you just kind of get your nail. There's a little nail spot right here in the back, a little edge to get in there. And you just kind of open it up. And it's very handy compared to the glass ones that you fill if you've used one of those before. Indicator solution just goes in there like so. Put that back. All right, now there's a little hole. It's going to be hard to see there. You can see that hole in the back there, like right where my finger is, right there. So thank you, phone alert, in the middle of my video. Okay, there's a little hole right there. You don't want to fill it up too much or it'll leak out that hole. Maybe that's a fail-safe. But that's where the air goes in. So air gets trapped in here, goes in that little hole, changes the pH fluid in here, aka your indicator solution. It's just it's a pH fluid. Anyway, let's get it in the aquarium. To do that, it has a different kind of suction cup. Most of them, if you've used the glass ones, they kind of go together like this. This one here, you're actually going to put it together like this. So it just kind of clips. There we go. Clips in there, and then you suction cup it to the side of your aquarium like this. And it just takes up a little less space, I guess. Maybe makes it easier to read. Let's go put it in there. By the way, just in case, yeah, you can flip it around that way too, which is what we're going to do. All right, we got our 75-gallon aquarium ready here. We're going to just go right in here and suction cup this onto the wall just to make sure, see that it works. It doesn't look too bad in there, actually. Pretty easy to see the green dot at the top versus the blue fluid in the bottom. Currently, I'm using one of these styles here. We'll put it below it. This is kind of traditionally what you might see. There we go. Now you can see them both together. Camera works hard, man. And it looks like the snail is in there, but I promise he's not. He's on the glass. Get off there, little buddy. Trying to do a review here. But the bottom one there is typically what you will see for drop checkers. And they're okay. They work. A little harder to fill than our little guy up top. Let's compare the two and see how the drop checker fluid changes over time. All right, as we can see a couple of hours later here, the drop checker has turned green. It's kind of nice to see that it matches the color at the top there, so you know you got your CO2 level just right. Probably could add a little more CO2. There's a teeny bit of blue tinge to it there, so we could get it a little more bright green. But for the most part, it's a pretty easy drop checker to read. Here is in comparison, you see the green color of our other drop checker here. Slightly different color variation here. You're going to see that when you have two different types of fluid, two different manufacturers of fluid for your drop checkers. But green is green, and that's what you want. You can see the profile difference now too, how it doesn't quite stick out as far from the side of the aquarium as the drop checker on the bottom or your traditional drop checker. So pretty cool. I didn't think I was going to like it, but not a bad little drop checker. It's been a whole week since I attached the LANDEN CO2 regulator to my CO2 bottle here, and let me tell you, I really do like this thing. The gauges have held constant pressure, haven't had any issue there. If you look at the bubble counter, it's still bubbling where I set it. I did mess around with it a little bit today, back on this needle valve here, and I gotta tell you, I cannot stress enough how I love the fluid adjustment. And at 30 psi regulated pressure, it's not gonna focus, there we go, 30 psi regulated pressure, it's so perfect. If you look at my thumb, how much, you know, you kind of got to turn that needle valve to make a bubble count adjustment. That's really what you want, though, because you want to be able to dial this thing in easily. Man, I can't say enough how much I like the feel of both the needle valve and the regulator knob itself. They're just very smooth. All right, let's summarize the LANDEN AverVita CO2 Pro regulator. Well, in short, I love the thing. It takes a lot for me to say I love a product, but those needle valves have got me hooked. If anything else, that's just awesome. Some other things I like. Well, it comes with a CO2 drop checker. That's a nice little bonus. You get that a lot with LANDEN, that you order a product, but then they always throw like a little something extra in there. And that's just kind of cool. I appreciate companies that do that kind of stuff. So I was not thinking I would like that little drop checker. I'm not big on that style, but you know, it's just because I looked at pictures, never used it. Once you use it, I like the little thing. So the whole package was great. It comes with everything you need. It comes with all of your wrenches and your little Allen key and the CO2 drop checker. The only thing you need to do is have a bottle to hook it on. Now, you don't have to have my style either. They do make a smaller one. It's called the Mini. I'll put a picture of it up here. You can get that on Amazon too for 120 bucks. If you want the Pro version here, this one's going to run you 160 on Amazon. They do sales throughout, you know, time, so just always check back and see. But even at 160 bucks, compare that to some of the other ones like FZONE and some of the other competitors. LANDEN's right on the same price point, but I think have a much better product with much smoother valves. If you've never bought one of these regulators before, take it from me. This is the 4th one I've owned now. Get this one, because all the other ones are very hard to adjust. I mean, it can be done, but when you put them side by side, this bad boy wins. Link in description if you want one. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you can see the genuineness, the authenticity in the review here. I do like LANDEN Products, though. They do make some good stuff. Thanks for watching. I appreciate that. Hit some buttons down below if you want to support the channel or find other content easier. And there's a lot of other reviews on the channel, so do some scrolling and help the algorithm. Until then, I'll catch you on the next one.